All right, hello everyone. Today I'd like to use this opportunity to talk about advertising. My name's Colin Klaus. I'm doing this presentation for Module 8 in Management 311. So to talk about advertising, I know that everybody in here wants to be a business person at least. That's why they're using these classes. You know, they want to have some knowledge when it comes to running a business or starting their own business, or probably just being upper management in a business. That might be good for some people. So advertising is important. Advertising comes into play a lot at all levels of business. It comes into play from the very bottom. You have people out on the sales floor. You have people that are trying to interact with other people in the store environment, out on the street possibly. The middle level marketing, there's also some advertising. You have to make sure that you're presenting yourself in a very positive manner, that you're presenting the company in a positive light. You don't want to misrepresent anybody's intentions or goals. It's really important to understand a lot about advertising. And we did talk about it a lot in this class, and that's why I wanted to. I feel like there's a right way to do advertising, and there's a wrong way to do it, and it's really easy to cross that line sometimes. So hopefully, my presentation will help some people going on into the future. I'm sure everybody's going to be very successful from these classes. So hopefully, you guys can listen to what I have to say, and then take that moving on into the future, and maybe make the world a little bit of a better place. Not only just for me, I'm the one that would appreciate it the most, but for everybody else. Hopefully we can all make it better for each other. Right. So advertising, what is advertising per se, right? What is the meaning of advertising? And that comes from the Latin word advertere. It's to turn attention to a specific thing. So we're trying to get people's attention to one specific thing. It's a form of communication. So there's a bunch of different forms of communication out there, and this is just one aspect that we're going to be focusing on. So this represents a message or an idea that we have, and we're trying to send that to the receiver of this message, right? So we're the sender. We have our idea, we have our message, and we're going to give that to the sender. The receiver. So it's a combination of creativity, market research, and economic media for buying things, right? So specifically for us when we're advertising, we're going to be talking about for purchasing things, right? Purchasing ideas, purchasing goods, physical goods is another thing. So we're being creative. We're trying to draw people in with our own creativity. This happens a lot when you're watching commercials, especially during the NFL time, right? The major sporting events, they're very proud of their market space. They're very proud of what they've done for the community. So they really pull out all the stops, and they try to share those ideas with us in the most creative ways possible. And I've actually seen people who aren't very fond of mainstream media, or aren't very fond of sports, of mainstream sports, and they'll actually go out of their way to watch videos from these commercials. They'll actually go out of their way to YouTube or other websites online to see these commercials, and sometimes they're very good. They're very well put together. Sometimes they're very funny. Sometimes they do a very good job of conveying that information, right? For us as the consumers, they do a very good job of telling us what the product is and then how it can benefit us. So like I was saying, there's a good way, there's a right way to do it, and there's potentially a wrong way that it can be done, right? So there's a powerful communication medium. It's a vital marketing tool to help sales of goods. So that's, again, like I was saying, that's what we were talking about on the mainstream media point, right? So we're trying to sell goods. I have some information I think is going to help you, and I'm trying to convey that over to you. And you're my audience. You're my mass audience. So I'm trying to make that message as good for as many people as possible. That's my number one primary goal. Right, so that was the meaning. So I want to go over some of the different types of advertising. The best, in my opinion, the best types of advertising, and possibly some of the more inappropriate or my least favorite types of advertising. Right. So just going over some general types of advertising here. There's outdoor advertising, indoor radio advertising, or television advertising, national, international, retail, classified, local, brand, covert, celebrities, broadcasting. There's just a lot of different types of advertising out there. In some of these, they actually cross realms. Indoor could have some type of celebrity aspect to it. I'm going to go over that a little bit later on. I want to touch on those specifically a little bit later on, but so to get more in depth in what I'm talking about. So the outdoor advertising, and that's very common to see those in the form of billboards. Messages painted on the side of buildings are another common form of outdoor advertising. It's often used with quick, simple ideas or being promoted. And some examples of that are baseball. Baseball again. I'm going back to those major sporting events. You could see an advertising billboard for a baseball advertisement. That's just a general idea. I was coming up with something here. So for moving on into indoor advertising. This kind of advertising provides the best opportunity of putting a reasonable selling argument. Right, the advertisement's addressed to the reader or listener viewing at the time of leisure, when they can observe the message best. So this is one of the best ways to target people. Say that's inside of a mall. So that's one example. If you have somebody in a mall, and that people go to the mall to buy things, they're ready to spend money. People generally don't go to the mall just to walk around, although it does happen. That's not the majority. I think we can agree on that. That's probably the minority of people that are just there for leisure. Generally, people go to the mall with a purpose. They need something, or they might not know what they need. Maybe money's burning a hole in their pocket, and they just need to spend it. All right, I've been there before, guilty of that. But you can put a billboard for a jewelry store, and you might not know that there was a jewelry store in the mall, and you might not have known that you needed to buy jewelry, or maybe you did know, and then you weren't sure on the proper timing, you weren't sure on when you could have done that most appropriately, and now with this billboard, this indoor advertising targeting you, now that you know, oh, okay, hey, look, there's my opportunity to get this taken care of, get this out of the way, right? So a non-product advertisement is another form of advertising. It exists to sell something to an audience, but they don't always feature a product that's there to sell. So a business tries to promote an idea that they consider important. It's engaging type of marketing known as non-product advertising. Non-product advertising is also used by various groups to promote public awareness on issues or programs, right? So a good example of that is the DARE program, right? That's just an idea where, although antiquated idea, it was there to help promote abstinence from illicit substances. And, that was just an idea. It's not necessarily something that somebody's trying to make money off of. Radio advertising, small business advertising. Radio advertising is a very effective means to attract customers to some businesses. And it's all based on the location. It's all based on the type of business that you have. I've heard a lot of used car dealerships. So somebody who's listening to the radio, and the majority of people who listen to the radio these days are inside of automobiles. So chances are, if you're trying to advertise to people that need to buy cars, they're probably already driving them. They probably don't like the one they're in currently. So that's where you get a lot of these, tire advertisements. Vehicle auto maintenance advertisements. You hear a lot of those on the radio. So, that's an example of some small business advertising that you get on the radio. So next up is TV commercials are very common. I'd already previously mentioned these a little bit. It's considered to be the most effective mass marketing advertising format. Is reflected by high prices, right? So, and I was talking about the NFL. They put out bids for these slots on the NFL for their advertising spacing for their halftime shows, right? And these are very expensive. They're correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm fairly certain these are the most expensive as far as TV commercial advertising goes. So it's a very competitive market. And that's why they have to come up with these new ideas, these new forms of conveying information to their audience, and that's why sometimes they choose that serious route. But generally, from what I've seen, especially for the NFL, they're generally funny. They're generally pretty funny. Then they're good taste too, most times, more often than not. So that's very appropriate in my opinion, right? And then there's all sorts of advertising that goes on, right? For those specific for television advertisements. Another example of that is national or international. You have to take into consideration your audience. One product might not work for everybody. If you're advertising for insurance, automotive insurance, you have to make sure that you're not advertising to an international market. It'd be a shame for you to waste that ad space to somebody who can't even have the opportunity to buy your product, right? So it's very important you take these things into consideration. Right, you have retail advertisings or classified ads you might run into is very, very common. Local, you have to take to consider again the international, national aspect of it. Covert advertising, I like this one. I've seen this one a lot. The covert advertising is in my opinion, this is one of the better forms. If not, according to me, this one's the best. This one, in my opinion, is the best form of advertising. And the reason I think that is because covert, you don't know you're watching it. You don't know you're being sold a product, right? If you go out to the movies, you want to see your favorite genre of movie. You know it's going to be good. You might have an idea of the plot, or you might not even know. And during that movie, you see a nice brand new car roll down the street, and you think to yourself, "Man, I got to have one of those," right? And that's that covert, right? So these companies that make these movies, they approach these automotive manufacturers and they say, "Hey, look, we have this new movie coming out. We have a perfect spot for your vehicle that we can fit into our movie." And they find this company, they approach them, or maybe possibly the company, the automotive manufacturer might approach the movie producers, and then they say, "Hey, look, we want to work something out." And the audience is none the wiser most times if it's done right, if it's done well enough. You don't know you're being advertised something. You see, you're like, "Oh, hey, look, I can use that, or I gotta have that," right? And that, in my opinion, is the best way of doing it. It's the best. It's unintrusive, right? So you don't have to worry about these pop-ups on the internet, and that, in my opinion, is the worst form of advertising, where it actually interrupts my experience. Is where I have to take time out of my day to acknowledge the advertisement, even if it wasn't something that I wanted in the first place, something that's not even relevant to me in the first place. So again, the covert advertising, I think, is one of the best ones. That's a little bit of my opinion of what I think about advertising, about which one's the best, and again, which one's the worst. Those intrusive ads that they take up your computer space. When you're trying to get something done, maybe it's for a project, a school project, and you're up to late hours in the night, and you just need that one final citation. And then you got all these ads, and the websites are asking you to watch short video clips to make sure that they get their revenue, right? And I'm not saying that they shouldn't advertise, because it is, especially for websites, web design, advertising is a good source of income. But like I said earlier, there's a good way of doing it there, and there's a bad way of doing it. So try to if you take anything, if you don't take anything else away from this, try to be covert in your advertising. It's a necessary evil, in my opinion, and it has to be done. But try to keep it to the point where I don't even know. Where I don't. 2 days later, I think to myself, "Man, I gotta have that Coca-Cola." Like, I didn't even realize I saw the advertisement 2 days ago in that movie, and I'm just just snaps into my head, I gotta have that product. And that's what I think is best, is when you get that covert. I didn't even know I saw it. Now I gotta have it. Right now they got my business. Had the need for it, didn't know that that's what was going to fill my need, but now I do. All right, so I appreciate it. I thank you all for watching my video. Please leave a comment what you thought about my video, and what you thought about my vlog. I really appreciate the feedback, and thank you very much for watching.